Recovery, I'm sorry. God. You know, first convention, what can I say? God's in charge, not me, thank God. Vida is here to share her experience, strength, and hope with us. And please welcome Vida.
Can you see me? No, that's okay. It's really okay. But there's always somebody that will say, stand up, Vida, stand up. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? It was up too high. Someone will always say to me, Vida, stand up when I come to this podium. And I always say, well, you know what? You need to hear the message. You don't have to see it. I remember coming to NA and feeling like old, but yet I wouldn't cop out my age. Nobody better tell me I was short and didn't have the body of a 21-year-old. Now, I got here at 46 years old. And my oldest son brought me to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. My oldest son will have 20 years come January. I always share a lot about my kids in recovery, and it's only because they were so part of my using, so much of the insanity. My kids would lock the door, look out the window before they let anybody in, and you don't snitch. They grew up with these principles, of being a dope fiend, and their mom and dad were just that. And my oldest son raised his son, and one day he was at a meeting, and he asked me, after if it offended me, and I said, no, I'm grateful, because he said to me, Mom, NA is my family, because without them, I wouldn't have been able to have what I have today. And I was still, shaky and my first year, and I said, that's okay. That's okay that NA became your family when I couldn't be there for you. And I know that today I understand that. He went to a recovery house and had to cop out that his mom and dad were addicts, My husband was dead already at that time, and to this disease. And, they told me to get off the grounds of this recovery house. I went to give him some clothes. And I went there, and I had some clothes for him, and they shook everything down, and they told me I had to leave because I was loaded. But don't you know, man, I'm his mother. And it was really something, change for me. And I hope it is for you, too. Because if you don't change, your clean time will. You've got to change around here. I want to cry. I didn't even see you come in, Esther. My daughter is with me this weekend, and that's different too. My daughter just celebrated 1 year. She's, my middle son is coming up on 6 years, and every time they go somewhere, they'll say, is your mom Vida? And it's really, that's how it was in the first year. I was Tony's mother, see. Then I gave it a year or two, and he became my son. And Tommy has had a hard time with it too, And girls would come up to my middle one at dances in the beginning, and they said, start talking to him, and he said the minute he let them know that I was his mother, they'd go, ooh. And they just know how to handle, what it is. And my daughter was the last one to come. I have 3 sons and a daughter, and it took her a long time to find out that she was an addict. And at my weekend here, I met Jerry, I worked the World Service Convention here. You know, not the service, but the World Convention when it was in Portland. And that was my first time here. Oh, no, it isn't. I went to a convention, say when I had about a year or two. I went with my sponsor and her husband and a bunch of people, and we got into a van. And Pepe was with us. And it was just the greatest thing for me. You get so hungry for NA, you know, and I thank my God for NA, you know, and I thank NA for my God today. Because, you know, I heard something said that I thought was very good. They said God came to the first meeting of Narcotics Anonymous and he hasn't left yet. And God, I don't even know where to start. At the beginning, you all know about the beginning of the end. You know, I really believe that. But yet I do remember that my first year, I would share about the using part of it. You know, because it was really the only thing I had to talk about. I came to this program, you know, a has-been that never was. You know, I came to this program not ever working. And today, and this always gets to me too, today, let me see, it was a couple of days ago that I celebrated 12 years at the World Service Office of NA. I just love conventions. I love these meetings because whatever you say, everybody just yells, yay! You know, you could say, my name is Vida and I'm an addict, yay! And it don't matter. It don't matter. And, you know, I've Veto's here tonight, you know, and I didn't even know he was coming. And he and I shared in Sydney, Australia. And and he told us, he was going to go get a van so we could take us sightseeing, and there was about 6 or 7 of us. He said, yeah, I know how to drive in Australia, where actually, you know, the wrong side the steering wheel is, and you drive on the wrong side. And he got us all in that van. And we went up against a wall. He said, I forgot to tell you guys, it's been at least 20 years. And I remember, you know, and that's what's so great about us, you know. We're like children, being able to grab onto what we never were able to do before. You know, that being a kid, finding out about that kid inside you. You know, and one of the most painful things for me to share about, you know, and writing an inventory was my place as a mom. I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know the first thing about it. And what it was, I didn't know about love. These kids loved me so much, and I was unable to give it back. My chance today is being a mom, is to stay clean. I work, you know, like I said, I'm the oldest special worker you got, you know, in more ways than one, you know. Like I said, I wouldn't say anything about myself in the first year. And I had to learn that you gotta write, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And I had my sponsor I still have today, and what was really touching last Saturday night, they had a surprise party for her husband, you know, and Hank had just celebrated 31 years clean. And and they were all there. All of them were there. You know, Hank, 31, Bob Barrett, you know, and Kevin, 22 years. I mean, there was some years at that party. And then there were the newcomers who just were in awe that they were able to do what they were struggling with. And they said, yeah, honey, you'll get it, you know. And there were a couple of relapses, you know. And that reminds me where I came from, you know, where I came from. And I don't ever want to forget my last run. Because if I forget it, it won't be my last one. It's that simple. And I've gone through this 17 years with the death of a boyfriend, my father dying, and you know what? I didn't have to use behind it. I found that God that I was looking for, because before my husband died, the God that I had in my life was a God that didn't like addicts. You know, I kept going to the wrong places and doing the wrong thing, and I blamed God for a lot of things. Through working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, I was able to get through it. I really was able to get through it. The 12 steps that helped me to be a mom, you know, and a grandma. I can tell you, man, I'm a grandma today, and I jump and have so much fun. And my youngest son, my grandson, I'm sorry, youngest grandson, we fight over him. She says it's her baby. I say, no, he's mine. But he's got this bright red hair and big brown eyes, and he was saying, Grandma, they just don't understand you. You got the mind of a child. And the first time he said that, my youngest son and I were sitting there at the table, and we just cracked up. You know, being able to have fun in recovery is to take your 12 steps seriously. I believe that you have to work a program right on so that one day you will have fun. I have fun, but you know what? There's a lot of serious things I have to deal with too. You know, this issue of being the dope fiend mom. You know, my youngest son was born hooked. He was in the hospital for 10 days. I was there for 3, shot dope the first 3 days, and when I left that little baby there because he was kicking, and they didn't know whether he would make it or not, you know, and I felt so much guilt and shame behind all of this as a mom, you know. He got out, and he's having a problem with this. He had 15 months clean, but couldn't cut the homeboys loose, you know, so he's just bouncing in and out and in and out, and it's real hard for me to stay out of it, you know. And they tell me, Vida, you gotta let go, man. If you hold on to that, you're killing him, because every time he goes back out there, you know, he hasn't hit a bottom yet, and you're cheating him out of that, you know, and being an enabler, you know. And it's real hard for me, because when I got here, I was no kind mom, and then now I have such feelings, you know, and maybe it is guilt still that I'm not being able to identify yet. I don't know. And thank God there are times when I say I don't know. Because if I ever got to the point where I knew everything, I'd be in so much trouble. And what I share with my sponsees is I hope that they get from me what my sponsor gave to me. You know, and no addict need be alone in this. But I'm scrambling, I know. I started to tell you about Beto. But you know what? We were laughing about him really not knowing how to drive. And then he looked at me, and I believe that the theme of that convention was the gift. And I remember Beto start laughing, and he's laughing at him. And all of a sudden, there was a big smile on our face. And he said to me, who would have ever believed? Because we shot dope together. He scored from the same connection as myself. And here we were in Sydney, Australia, clean, you know. It was such a, it was wonderful, you know. And I remember when he was in the veteran, wasn't it? Yeah, in Veterans Hospital in Westwood. And they took him to this meeting and dance. Well, when he looked at me, and I looked at him, you know, and the first thing out of his mouth was, how do you do it? What are you doing? What are you still getting loaded on? And he just didn't know, you know, and I just loved it, because then I was able to share with him the gift of life that I have today. And at that time, you know, I don't think he believed it. But you know what? Here we were, years later. And Bobby, I'm giving up all these people. And I remember Bobby got a tape of mine from the women's meeting. And, you know, that's kind of silly, I know. But we have women's meeting and we have men's meetings, you know, and then we sell the tapes. You ever thought of that one? Yeah. So, but I'm looking forward to going to the women's meeting and see all the women that are recovering. You know, women are recovering in NA. There are women, I have about 3 or 4 sponsees that all are double digits. And that makes me feel good to know that NA is growing and we don't have to go anywhere anymore. You know, I had to go to the other fellowships. I'm NA all the way. Now that's just mine. Yeah, that's the way it is, you know. And one time we couldn't, my oldest son, you know, they would be going to both, you know, fellowships. And there just wasn't enough meetings. And you know how we talk about it, every day a meeting, you know, do it like you used and all those little things that we do apply, you know. And my first step of gratitude each and every morning is to jump out of bed, get up, and say, thank you, God, I don't need a get up. And then I go to the bathroom and I pee for me today. You know what I mean? No more bottles. no more bottles, in a methadone clinic. I came here on methadonian, and it was tough. I think it was tougher kicking that methadone than stuff. And so, I'm just NA all the way, and it's really a trip because, the World Service Office just moved, and in May and June, and it's really nice working there. You look and there's NA logo. I'm so comfortable at work. I really believe it's a blessing that I can work there in more ways than one. Because when I got here at 46 years old, the only thing I knew how to do was do it. I had never worked, and I really felt like a has-been that never was, because the person that got me the job at the WSO is not with us anymore. She's doing what she got to do, It's my ex-sister-in-law and daughter-in-law, excuse me. And, working there, I get to talk to so many different people, so many of you, I've had people come up to me at a convention and say, your voice sounds familiar. And I'd say, well, no one else has got it but me, And, I like to talk to people on the phone. I do that, I'm customer service. When is my order ready? I sent it yesterday. How come it's not there today? And they're way over in another state. And so I work. Over the phone, I talk to addicts all over the world, and it's really nice. It's really nice, especially when we get a new meeting in all over Europe. We opened up an office in Brussels. We have one in Canada, and I've watched NA grow as a whole. One of my first things that I did was take the first edition, and take it off a truck, and dear Bob, who's gone now, he looked at me, and I was applying for this job. He told me what I would have to do, and he says he doesn't know why, but here I was, short, nails, and he was going to put me in the shipping department. And but you know what? I worked that, and then, we got more than one special worker and two more than one. It became like I think we have about 38 special workers in our office today. And it's great to see these meetings coming from everywhere, all over Germany, just great. It's just really something. And world conventions are fun. Oh, you see all those recovering addicts just celebrating. It was like the gentleman at the 6 o'clock meeting at the end, he says, let's party. And we will. And we can do it clean today. We can do a lot of things. We can become those better mothers. We do become better grandmothers. When my first grandson was born, my son sent me, I was still using him, my son sent me, what do you call it? Well, just, that he, what do they call announcement. I got it, slipped my mind. He sent me an announcement that I was a grandmother, And then he called me up on the phone and says, but don't come over. See, and it was hard for him to have to do that. It was, and I thought it was cruel. And today I know that whether it's your son, your daughter, or whoever, they got to do what they got to do, and they don't want you to make this not right for them. So that was at the very beginning. It didn't take me too much longer. And to be truthful with you, I did hear that, your grandma. That's all I heard. I felt nothing. I lived to use and used to live. My whole life centered around drugs. Becoming a grandmother one day and then forget it, and where's my drugs? Where's my money? And my daughter had her first son. I was clean and recovering at that time, and he's now 15. And it was neat because when he was born, she let me know. I went and saw the baby. I saw Tina. And you know what? For the first time, due to Narcotics Anonymous, I was able to feel like a grandma. When he was born, I had already done an inventory on being a mom. And it was painful, And I hear people say that they feel better after they write their inventory. Well, I don't. It was every time. It's so painful to look at me on paper. It was painful. But when I was able to finally start working the seventh, seventh, and the eighth, now I got over the sixth, the one step that we always need to get to. And the one we really get stuck on are the character defects. And that's why we hate pain, and it was terrible. But you know what? I got through it. I was scared, and I got through it. And what made me write that as inventory on being a mom, I had a couple of years clean. Now, I had a different taste than my God. He wanted me to do this, and I wanted to do that. Well, here I am clean, thinking all I got to do is stay clean, go to meetings, and definitely go to the dances, Definitely. They call me the oldest teeny bopper around. But, I remember this so painfully, my baby son, Toby, he went ahead and he said he was sick, and I left him with his older brother, and I said, and what I found myself feeling was, I got to go to the dance, and da-da-da-da-da, how you feel, son? And I'm clean. And I come home from the dance, and my little son, he's kind of halfway sleeping, and then all of a sudden he tells me, Mom, you know what? I still got that stomach ache, and I left him there with my oldest son. He said, Mom, I still got this pain. And I said, well, where is it? And he told me right here on my right side. And he was about to have he was having appendicitis, help me. I get over it. Anyway, we took him to a clinic, and that's what he had. His appendix was ready to burst. And it made me feel so guilty. I hadn't felt like that. But what I felt for the first time, I think that, right on me, was the fact that when you get clean, that don't mean that you're recovering. You stay clean, that don't mean it. It just don't mean it. You've got to work the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. And what I found myself doing was I was still thinking and feeling first for me. How selfish, how self-centered it was for me to have really said, well, son, rather than go and stay with you, I'd rather go to the dance. And here was this little boy, who was having appendicitis. And God, it was real hard for him, to tell me, because he knew I wanted to go. So he said he had a stomach ache, but he didn't go and let me know how much of a stomach ache he had. And I definitely didn't feel it. And I gotta say, I had about 1.5 years when that happened. And I was so ashamed to find out that we come here with the same principles that we had out there in the streets, And you don't snitch on anyone, you don't do this, you don't do that. And we come to the meetings, and as a newcomer, and have to say, my name is Vida and I'm an addict. To me, that was a total cop-out. But see, that's all it was in the beginning. So all I felt in the beginning was those principles that were in my using. And I don't feel like that now. I feel like, okay. I remember also that when I went to first meetings that I looked down, man. I couldn't look anybody in the eyes. They stayed down. And today, it is so different. I still can't see you too good if you're too tall. But I try and look in your eyes and let you know how I'm really feeling, whatever it is. It's okay not to be okay every day. And you sound this out with somebody else, and you let them know. It's easy, but it's not. The process of finding this out is real hard. When I got here as a newcomer, I would talk about my using and going to the penitentiary, and all of this, And if anyone's hearing this, I don't swear anymore. I remember when I first went to meetings, I swore. I talked like I was still on the street corner. But that's all I knew. And thank God. And when I had a little bit of time that I understood, you know what, you got to change. And that's been a real big thing to me today, about changing. I still make mistakes. I still want to open morgue to my sponsor. I saw her last Saturday night, and there's a lot of things I don't like about myself, but I still want to keep them, And I'm learning to change. I went to a dance, an NA dance, and all the youngsters, and plus Peggy was there, and we were at this dance, and this is when the electric slide came to, and I was looking at him. I said, boy, that looks like fun. So Peggy says, well, go on out there and try it. And I go, oh. And I thought about it for a minute. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go out there and make a fool of myself. Well, all I did was go out there and have a good time. And as I was doing this, and I finished, and I walked out of the dance to get some fresh air. And this guy who had, he had quite a few years. And he looked at me and he said, God, Vida, that took a whole lot of nerve for you to get out there with those youngsters and dance like them. And then I walked out feeling this, what he told me, and I thought, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. This is just freedom. Freedom to be able to get up and do something, what I really wanted to do, and that was get on the dance floor and take a few steps. And it was fun. That I found to be also something that I needed to get over, this lifestyle. The lifestyle of an addict, man. And I was clean, but my lifestyle, Halloween, is coming up. And I remember the first time I was in, I had about 2 or 3 years clean then. And I went to a dance, and they were telling everybody about the Halloween dance. And they said, well, are you going to dress up, Vida? And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it. Because I was afraid to. I'd already gone to a couple of Halloween dances. I said, check them out. And I felt, man, this time I felt like I wanted to do it. I wanted to get dressed, and I did it. And what this all is freedom. Freedom to be able to do exactly what you want to do, as long as you don't hurt anybody else. When I'd come up to the podium at a lot of places, I'd wear high heels this high. Don't tell me I'm short, and there's always someone, and I find this, I thank them, I thank them to get me that message one more time that I'm okay and that I can free to wear tennis shoes. That was a big thing for me, and I've been going through a few physical stuff this last couple of years. And I'm a diabetic, and when that was just a few years back that the doctor found that I was a diabetic, and I didn't have, first 6 months, I said to eat sugar is to die, I went through the whole thing, and my sponsor would say, where's the steps and da-da-da on that sugar, and as it was, I did get on insulin, and it really goofed on me. I didn't want to take it. And because I love to eat. I really do, and I love sugar, And, I went from the spoon to the fork, I ate. I just loved, to eat. And then this sugar thing, man, I was really on it, working the steps, and then somebody came along and told me, you know what, Vida, if you do this after you eat sugar, be nice to yourself. And it was true, But he says, not every day, just once in a while. And he's still around. He's from New York. And so I said, okay, I found the game. And we're always looking for shortcuts, I could eat something sweet, and then I could work it out, and blah, blah, blah. And I went to New Orleans. And this is a good thing for me to remind me that I am an addict. And I went with 2 sponsees to that convention in Florida. And one of the sponsees would, whatever I did, she would go for it. My other sponsee, was down on, no, Vida, don't. And listen to this head of mine. What I did was I told that sponsee who wouldn't co-sign what I was doing to go to the dance. Go to the dance. And you better go to the dance. Well, this is what really my head was thinking. I'll get rid of this one. I'll go into the parlor suite of the room, and then I'll call the connection. And I call the connection, room service. And, it was really something because I got all these guilty feelings, And she came back upstairs, and I was furious. I said, go in the bed, go over there. And that was, and it was something really. And all of a sudden I felt like, man, you're still keeping secrets. And I really felt very guilty about it, And I had to apologize to her and all this. But you know what, that's how our addict thinking goes. And sometimes we have to go through the whole process of it. And And it was funny because I share that, and I remember the first time that I had to take insulin. And this reminded me of the addict that I used to be. I went ahead, and this is something. I finally had to understand you gotta, take insulin. And here I have tried so hard to forget about using, the syringe and going, and here I am going to have to work as a diabetic and do what I got to do. Well, what happened was I shot the insulin and I stood there waiting to see if I felt anything. Now that little reminder let me know, you know what, you're still an addict, you should have, it was okay to have those fears about going as long as you work. And it was like, and my sponsor would say, at first I said to her, and so many times it just comes right out of our head. I said to her, well, now that I have to fix this insulin, she looked at me, she says, you don't have to fix it. You have to take insulin. You've got to learn how to not do this anymore, And she said, you're taking medication as the doctor prescribes, aren't you? And I was able to get through it, and I have I love sugar, My God, most of us that use heroin, how much sugar was in that drug that we thought was so good, and I still crave it sometimes, I give myself a good weekend and I can have some sugar, and but it's just another reminder. Today when it was raining, and now someone here, took us, my daughter and I, sightseeing, and it was really neat. And you know what? I do believe that I'm getting senile. My oldest son says, no, Vida, it's denial. But I was here in Portland for the World Convention, but most of it I had to work the convention, so, I didn't really get to celebrate like I'd like to, because they put us in a back room, and there was a few of us that came up to work the convention. My using took me to places I never ever wanted to go to. But since I've been clean, since I've been recovering, my life is just so much fun in that respect. I've gone to Australia, Hawaii, London, and here was a little dope fiend that didn't want to get off her neighborhood. And here I was sharing about where my recovery had taken me to places I never ever dreamt before. I went one year to Oklahoma, great big flat land. I couldn't believe it. And they had it outside, and I stood. It was a big field. And all of a sudden, I looked around and says, I'm in Oklahoma? And it was just such a, I don't know. And then I spoke in Kansas, and these Middle West here is kind of different, And I enjoyed myself. And I was telling Jerry today, you've all been so good to me, so good to me. And I was sharing it with my daughter, saying, you know what, watch how they treat us. The committee is so kind and giving. And there was a time that all we did was take. We took. And today, all of us are learning how to give. And I had a boyfriend that died, and I don't remember how many years I had, but he went out and died behind this disease. And I believe, too, that addicts go out there and die are giving us that message, that if you continue doing what you're doing, you'll wind up in jails, institutions, and death. And that is everything that we have in our literature don't lie. It's really the honest truth, And but this boyfriend of mine, he went ahead, said he was going to go out for just one time, and it was his last time. You have no guarantee of what's going to happen to you once you walk out our doors of Narcotics Anonymous. I choose to stay here, without a doubt. I choose to stay here, and I have so many rewards from doing this, like working for you, and I'm not too good with names, so I may call you honey, and a couple of times, to be funny, people would call up and I'd say, now who is this? And they'd say, honey, it's honey. And they laugh at me. So if I call you honey, it's because I forgot your name, and there are a lot of familiar faces here, You know, that's what's so rewarding too, that you are able to go anywhere and see a few people that you know and who you love. I bet, though, I haven't seen him, it's been a few months. He gets around too, you know, and Bobby. Oh, I don't want to go through all of you, you know. I love you all. I really do. I love you all, you know, and I found out as a grandma I have to turn it over. You know, I'm a grandma of 3. My oldest grandson just graduated from high school, and that's a miracle, because in our family, the last one to graduate was me. None of my kids became graduates. They became addicts, you know, and all 4 of them, you know. And right now they're all clean today, you know, and I have a son-in-law. I have a son-in-law that's clean too. And a funny thing that hit me about my son-in-law was that I went and shared about it was, you know what, I was so sick. Now what mother would hook your daughter up with? I guess the normal thing would be somebody that didn't abuse in any kind of way, physical and whatever. This sick addict introduced my son-in-law, who I knew from the methadone clinic, and she married him. I thought, isn't that wonderful? You know, and she's gone through a lot, but you know what? They're both clean today. You know, we're a family. I mean, it's just great. It's just great. You know, I have fun. We went up to that. Where did we go? How did you pronounce it? What is it? Thank you. And the waterfalls were so pretty, you know. And I remember feeling like that when I was in Hawaii. You know, it's just so beautiful, because where I come from, a lot of concrete, a lot of pavement, you know, and not many trees, you know. And it all up this coast here, from here on, man, it's just blue and green. A lot of blue and a lot of green. And it was beautiful. I was in awe today. You know, and I've known Jerry for a few years, and she's just been so kind to my daughter and I, you know, taking us places, and what we have become in recovery. You know, what we have become in recovery is we give, you know, and I get it wherever I go, you know, and I'm so glad to see Esther. She's my daughter's best friend since the first year in school. Right, first year, and Tina doesn't get to see her much, you know. And she drove down here, I think it was 2-3 hours, to get here to be with my daughter Tina. You know, I think that's so great. Everything, I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget what everything or anything that NA has given me. You know, it's given me a lot of things, and I don't ever want to lose it. You know, I believe that I am a better mother, you know, a better grandmother, you know, and I'm working all those. I make mistakes, you know. I'm having an issue with one of my grandsons, you know, and he's 15, and I don't really know how to be a grandma. And I got to tell you, it's, in all honesty, I have a 10-year-old redhead, and he's my favorite. He's my, he can look at you like, my grandma loves me the most. And you know what? I go, oh my God, because it's true. You know, and I've got to learn, man, to be more equal with all of them, you know, and all of this stuff. But I always want to remember where I came from, because I could go back out there. You know, I remember one winter, I think it was about 2 years ago, they had a big snow, and I don't know how many inches. It was just a terrible snow in New York. And my son, my middle son, was there. And he says, look at that, Mom. He says, what's that make you think of? And I looked at him. I really didn't remember in the beginning. And he said to me, remember the time that you were going to take all of us kids to the snow? Well, it was true. We were going to take them to the snow, and my son and I, the oldest son, were going to kick at the same time. Now, please. We took one fix with us, and then we weren't going to do it anymore. We got there in the evening. So as soon as we got there, we took our drugs, and an hour or two later after that, we start getting sick. You know, that's that obsession. So we decided, well, we got to go back home. And I can remember looking at that middle son of mine with his big brown eyes, and he said, but Ma, we didn't even get to see the snow. We didn't even get to play in the snow, you know, and that's one of the things that I've had to remember. I get all these little things will happen, and I get that miracle feeling. God, I'm a miracle. I was nothing but a dope fiend, you know, who didn't want to know about anything other than drugs. I lived to use and used to live. It was that simple, you know, and then I started hanging around, you know. I thought I identified with the men better, you know, because they had been to the penitentiary and, they, you know, they're older, you know, like Bobby Burke and Beto. Beto's a couple of years older than me, I think. I loved to front him off at a convention. You know, and when we were in, this is what's so funny, when we were in Australia and I was going to share, Beto and his other Berto were sitting in the front and they had these silly Australian hats on and were going to make me laugh. Well, they did. They looked so silly, the two of them there with these big old caps. But anyway, that's what it's been like for me today. Now, what time is it? I can't even see for sure. 8:25. Ooh. When are you going to cut me off? I mean, I don't want to get caught in the middle of a story. No. Because I believe my recovery is a lot of stories, you know. I mean, the miracles that happen. I remember one of the first conventions that I went to up north, and I saw someone who I knew, and he said, man, I thought you'd be dead by now. And I said, yeah, you too. And he was telling me about going, you know, and he started talking to me about, he had just less than 6 months, and I had more than that, not too much more. And I started by asking, and he started asking, well, what happened to so-and-so? What happened to so-and-so? We were talking that street talk, and it seemed like everyone that we mentioned were either dead or in jail. You know, dead or jail. That's how it works, you know, when you're out there in those streets. I believe that when my boyfriend went out, you know, I mean, I got the feeling, he told me he was going to go to a meeting, and he told me where and with who, and it just didn't hit right. And I'll never, ever want to forget what he looked like as he walked out the door. Because right then and there, I knew he was going to go out and get some dope. And I know that there was no kind of look in his face that said, I'm going to go out one time and it'll be my last one. And it was. They found him outside of you know, those dumpsters, those big dumpsters, and it had been raining, and you could see how he had been drugged, you know, and set aside right there. You know, and I like to say that too, because he too was a messenger that if you just think you can go out there one more time, you have no guarantees, none whatsoever. You know, and it's been, and I want to remember that. You know, I remember one year at Christmas time, he ripped me off. This was before. He ripped me off for all my Christmas presents. And I was feeling so good because I had bought all the Christmas presents for my kids and my friends. And what happened was that he came while I was gone, and I had them wrapped, you know, ready to give. And so what happened, though, was that I came home, and they were all gone. They were all gone. And I knew what had happened. The disease took him, not necessarily that man, but the disease took over his life, and he burnt me for all those presents. And I heard something that my sponsor used to say, you know, it's not your fault that you're down, but it's your responsibility to get back up. So I started by, you know, and this was the funny thing. I thought, well, I can do this to, you know, exchange this for gift or do something, you know. And I started finding money in the oddest places. In a coat jacket or at work in a drawer, you know, and it was all my friends. All my friends found out what had happened, and they all had, you know, put a little money here and a little money there. All dope fiends, all of it. And I felt like, my God, they're giving to me. They are giving to me, you know, and making my Christmas all right for my kids, you know, and my friends. And I was able not to feel that bad about it, and I understood it. For when you can finally forgive yourself for some of the things that have happened, you'll be able to forgive someone else. And that's how it works. The therapeutic value of one addict helping another is so profound. See, because it comes to us in many, many ways. You know, we could be in a meeting, and we finally say in and out of these doors, because we used to just say out there. But you know what? You can go to a meeting and someone may be struggling to stay clean, or someone's died, you know, in their family. You never know. You never know. So it's nice to be able to get a hug and tell them it'll be okay, because you can actually see it in their faces, and they ain't copping out to it. You know, and I found that when I sponsor women, that the first thing I do is start telling them about myself, which will make it more comfortable for them to share with you. You know, I said I would share, women might have a man trouble. I said, man, at my age, 47, I'm still looking. You know, I mean, just crazy stuff. But that just, I have a man problem. I have a dating problem. You know, all these different things that we have issues about. And you know what? I had them too. But I finally found a balance, you know, that is being a mom and being a grandma. I love being a grandma. You know, my friends and family had a surprise 60th birthday party for me. And man, I was so grateful, because if I hadn't stayed in Narcotics Anonymous, I would never have seen 60. You know, and I was 61, 62. I'm 63 going on 64. And, you know, my oldest son, you know, my daughter had gotten him this real nice shirt, and it said NA, and it said 42 on it, 42 years of NA. And my son turned 42 this year. And he says, you know what, Mom? When I was born, 42 years ago, they came down with, they better have a program. Because that's when it became, you know, and I have so much fun here, and I have my hard days. You know, when we buried my boyfriend, it was on the 27th of February. And we had, when we buried him, yeah, it was on the 27th of February. And what made it weird, but it was such a message for me, that I remember my husband dying, see, February 27th, many years back, more than that. I think it was 72? Yeah. And I buried him. And you know what? I had to write about this too, and it came up. So many things start coming up, you know, that I remember the looks on my kids' face, eyes, and in their face. And I looked at them, and they needed me as a mom. They needed me more than anything. And all I could do was ask them to help me up. I mean, I didn't even think of these kids that just lost their father. All I could think was that here I am, stuck with 4 years in a bad habit. You know, I have 4 kids, I mean, and, you know, that's something, you know, that's how I felt. I felt God took his life, my husband, and February 27th of this year, 5 years ago, is when I buried my boyfriend. And the message was so heavy for me, because he was buried on this very same date as my husband. And they died because of this disease, you know. And what I had to really look at was that back in 1972, I thought it was my God who took his life. That was the God of my understanding then. The God of my understanding got you in places where we didn't want to go. He was prejudiced against dope fiends. That's what I felt for the God of my understanding. But when my boyfriend died 5 years ago, and we buried him in the same cemetery on the same date, it was so very different, because I had a God of my understanding, and I have to take my part in whatever it was. And I had to be a mom, because they wouldn't, I mean, there was a time when I finally cleaned up, that I was able to understand if I continued to use, that they would be without parents. They would, orphans. And that's what got me to the program, you know, because I hated myself. I didn't think I was worthy to be the mother of these kids. I took so very much from them. And the God of my understanding in 1972 was that. And 5 years ago, the God of my understanding held me, embraced me, and told me it was going to be okay. Yes, there will be some lonesome times. And he just thought he was great. And that's when I found out, you know what? I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to grow up to be as my God has been to me. My God has been patient, tolerant, everything. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's the kind of sponsor I want to be. And that's the kind of sponsee I want to be. You know, it takes a lot. You know, it's simple, but it takes a lot. And that a lot is just wanting to have it. The honest desire to have it. That first step tells you, you know, you got to get honest. We come here the biggest liars in the world. You know, we'll lie. And it was hard in the beginning to be honest. And all of a sudden, man, as I worked the steps, I found that I could, you know, I could tell the truth. And I can honestly say today, you know, it's hard to lie. It has totally reversed itself, you know, and that's what these 12 steps have done for me. Because when I look back and see what I was, and I'll always be an addict, but I'm a recovering addict today. You know, just like coming up here, you know, I love the blues and the greens. You know, where I come from, it's all cement and dirt. You know, San Fernando Valley, oh, I got to tell you this. We moved, I think a few of you know that we moved into a nice building, big enough to hold us all in one building because we were split up in 3 buildings, you know, and I wanted to bring a picture. I should have brought it and I could show it to you. But it's a real new, sophisticated building, 2 stories, and it is nice. It is nice, you know, and I've been there for 12 years. I'm the oldest special worker. I've been all over the world. And it's all due to my God and to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, you, all of you, you know, I love you all. And I pray each and every day, you know, that gratitude step. And then what I do is, you know, I say, please may I be approachable today. You know, so some addict who really needs to talk, you know, or just a hug or whatever it may be, to be there and be able to give that. To be able to get out of that self program, you know, where we get caught up in what's happening with us. And I know you all know about going to a meeting and really not feeling all right with it. And then you never leave a meeting. Well, I can only share for myself. You can never leave a meeting feeling the way you did when you walked in. And that's how it's been for me. You know, I just celebrated 17 years this month. 17 years, you know. And my celebration was good. My party, my 60th birthday party. But you know what? I knew if it wasn't for this program, I would have never made it to 60. You know, I knew that I was dying in my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and I got clean. I got clean at 46. You know, and I know what it's like to go to, I applied for a job, you know, and I found myself, and there were other girls there doing it too, and they were applying their application, and I asked them, do you feel weird, you know, you're so young? And they said, yeah, you know, I do feel weird. And I go, me too, and I'm old. Because I never had worked before, you know, and it's just, I just can't explain it. You know, I can't describe it. This is too much for me. I don't ever, you know, want to go back out there, you know. And I think about, my God, I'm 63 years old. Go out there in those street corners. They'd make me pay. But you know what? That's honesty. That's being honest with it, you know. And I have a good time today. I really do. This has been a special convention for me, you know, being up here and being able to have my daughter next to me. You know, I always cry. I can't tell you how much gratitude I have for this program, you know, for you to be out there and sharing what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like for me today. Those precious gifts that have given me back my kids. And we're so, at Christmas, you know, Christmas time, you know, man, we got enough for a meeting, you know, just in our family. And we get teased about it, you know. Last week, I took a cake, and Tommy, my son, led the meeting, and Tony was speaking the meeting, and they tease us. They go, oh, here comes the Moral Clan. I love it. You know, I can't say enough to you and to the newcomer. Give yourself a break. If you don't understand it in the beginning, even if you don't like it, there will come a day when you will. And what I've learned to understand, what we say in our literature is that regardless of age, race, color, creed, or lack of religion, don't matter. If you say you are honestly an addict, then you need to be here and want the recovery. And if you don't want it yet, give yourself a break. Just try it a little bit longer. Because I know I used to drive me crazy, and I think we've all acted the same way. I pray to God that I never forget what it's like to be a newcomer, because if I do, I could become that newcomer. I want to be able to be patient and tolerant and all those good things when a sponsee says to me, but if you, no, don't work that way. And, and I look at them all, and NA has grown a lot. I have 3 sponsees, and they're all double digits today. And I remember when I was first here, there weren't too many. Usually they'd get a few years, and then they go to the other fellowship. But today, we have a lot of recovering women with double digits. Double digits. Women do recover. And all I've had to do was just be honest with them, show them that they can trust me. So I give them a little of mine, Trust me first, and then you try and trust me. It's that easy. We complicate it, though. We want that sponsee to be able to tell us anything. Oh, but I feel like a tramp. So was I. And then I can share about this or that, Others, they go through color, and it's all the same, though. It's all the same. We want to stay clean and recover. And in order to do that, just hit that first step. That first step that tells us, man, to understand and accept situations like they are, as they really are, like they really are. To understand, man, that if we go back out there, we could die. I have said to newcomers, they'll get here, and I say to them, you know what, man, you don't have to go out there anymore. But if you do, you're going to have to do that too. You've got to hit a bottom. And our bottoms are all different, I didn't want to make that young son of mine an orphan, and that's what first got me there. And I have learned to be able to understand a little bit today that my God has been good to me, and he's been good to my kids. I suffer from the disease of motherism. I do. My boss, I work at the World Service Office, and my boss, about 2 years ago, he said, Vida, you got to be a better supervisor and not be a mom. You want to mom everybody. And I mom him. He's my, did you eat right? What did you eat? And and what he did, a couple of years ago, what he did was, they have a birthday card that goes around when it's your birthday at the office, and he wrote, hi, Mom. Love your son, because I treat him, his mother died a few years back, and he said to me, my mom died, Vida, and I said, I know, that's why God put me in your life. And he just gives me this funny look, and I know I'm going over, huh? See, she said to me, I asked her, well, when is the meeting? I should talk for how long? She said, as long as you want. And I said, oh no, you don't tell me that. I'm long-winded, and I can't seem to get what I all want. It is that. Oh, I think it is though. No. Oh. Okay. Anyway, I just, I don't know how to swim. Everybody knows how to swim. Come this program, I hope to die doping. But I didn't know the first thing about swimming. And my youngest grandson. It's okay. I'll take care of you in the pool. And there's a lot of things I don't do, I go everywhere, but I never drive. I never learn to drive a car. And everybody says, I can't believe it. And I'm really too scared now, though. I don't think it. But I go everywhere that I need to go and want to go. And what's happened is, we live to use to live. I didn't learn how to swim. Wasn't no water around where I was going. You know what I mean? And I never drove a car, you know. I was one of those kind of addicts that you do the driving and I'll do the nodding. And I believe that too, you know, self-centered as we are. And today, though, you know, I just, everyone's so nice. Everyone is so nice. You know, Jerry picked us up from the airport, made us feel good, you know. I mean, we're giving people today. We're learning how to be honest. We're getting some character. Boy, are we getting some character in our fellowship, you know. And we're getting the big building. Oh, it's so nice. Wait till you see it. I was impressed, you know, and everyone that comes out there, you know, is impressed. Susan just came a couple of months ago, and she was impressed. And, you know, I can't say enough for NA. I cannot even, I think I've just told you a few little stories. You know, I'll try and, okay. My middle son, you know, I already told you about my young son. And my oldest son I've already talked about. And my daughter, oh, I love you, Tina. She was the last one to get here. Anyway, I lost my thought. Oh, middle son, thank you. And all my kids' names, and they're not kids. You know, the youngest one is 27, and the oldest one is 42. You know, and an 18-year-old grandson. But, you know, it's really nice. What I was going to say about my middle son was that he resented my being and the oldest son being clean, you know, and he said it's still the same way. And he was very angry. I remember trying to make amends. Well, I didn't try. I did make the amends. And people will tell you, you don't know how it's going to turn out, but you got to do what you got to do. And he was very resentful, very angry at me. He said, you waited too long to get clean, you know, because he left home at a young age. So he never trusted me. He never asked for anything. This kid was 14 when he left home, and he never asked me for anything. And that was sad, because he didn't believe that I could be the mom that he really wanted. And then about 7 years, they gave me this big NA birthday party. And he didn't actually come to go inside. He came to the front porch and gave me a bouquet of roses. And now this is at 7 years, he said to me, you know, Mom, I do love you, and I'm glad you're alive and clean today. He was still using. And I said, okay. And our relationship got a teeny-weeny bit better. But a few years later, you know, he was smoking that pipe, you know, and he came to me and called me on the phone, and for the first time since he was 10 years old, did he say, Mom, I need your help. He was asking me for something, you know, and it was all due to this program, you know, and I went ahead and got him into a recovery house, and that didn't work. He went into treatment, and that didn't work. You know, he'd stay a little while and leave. Well, that same son of mine is now going on 6 years. He went to jail is what happened. He went to jail, and he stopped. And, you know, when he went to jail and he called me up. Now, you know what it's like to come out of jail, you know. You're all into the wannas, you know. I want to, you know, be okay with my my PO. I want everything to be okay as far as everything. He just wanna. I want to go to meetings, you know. And he got kind of twisted around of all the things that he had to do. So he was just mouthing it, you know. But that's okay, too. I have to go to these meetings. I have to do this. And Tony and I would look at him going, no. And he was staying with me, you know. And after about 30, 40 days, he said to me, is it time? I'm so afraid I'm going to go over. And so he finally went to jail. And he had these, you know, when he got out, he had these, I have to do this, I have to do that, and da-da-da. And we looked at each other, Tony and I, and we thought, if he goes to enough meetings, he'll hear something, he'll believe it, and it will get better. It will get better for him. So we just hung in there with him, and he'll have 6 years. He'll have 6 years. He goes to the dances. He didn't want to go to the first dance with us in his first 30 days. We didn't push it, you know. And he's a little dancer since he was 5 years old. And so anyway, he now he goes to the dances and gets NA trophies for dancing. And, oh, he's a lot of fun, you know. My daughter is too, and my other son too. He's going through some changes right now, so I'd like you all to pray for my baby boy. He's 27 years old, had 15 months and went out, and, you know, he just can't seem to get back. And that's really painful. And my sponsor says, you got to leave him alone. You've got to leave him alone. Don't cheat him out of recovery by enabling him. And it's the hardest thing I've had to do with my kids is watch Tommy do what he had to do. And it's very painful to be a parent because things do come up, you know. But most of my tears today are of joy. And I go through my pain, and that's to remind me that, you know what, Vida, it's okay. You'll get through it, you know, with the pain. What time is it? Oh, I got about 5 minutes. Huh? Oh, oh, I'll tell you another little miracle step or something. You know, it works. It works, how and why. You know, and I guess what I want to say, too, is I'm your oldest special worker, and I've been there 12 years. And you know what? It's really been nice to go along. I went to the first convention here, you know, in Portland, not just the World Convention. And I remember that. And, you know, it's really something to be able to have a dinner and my whole family sitting there. We're clean, eating like pigs, but we're clean. You know, I better stop because I'll go on and on and on. I'm just grateful that you're here. Because of you being here, I'm here. And let's party!